Greetings, everybody. This is 13451 here, and welcome to another episode of Weeb Warriors. And joining me, like always, is Jordan. How you doing tonight, Jordan?
Pretty good, hanging in there.
And it all depends if our other co-host will actually be joining us. Since Jay told me that he's been busy making a lot of videos, working back to getting monetized again. Good on you, buddy. But if he pops in just randomly, there's a reason for that.
Yeah.
So what show do you want to start off with this week, Jordan?
Well, I mean, since let's just go by my queue, which has changed order because I accidentally removed some things and had to add it back. All right, How to Summon a Demon Lord, Episode 8, Heroes Charge. Oh my God.
It's true. Holy shit. A lot of things happen in this particular episode.
What the
fuck? So let's start off with the cliffhanger at the end of episode 7, where Diablo was facing off against the Force Hydra that Shara's brother summoned.
Mm-hmm.
And given our speculation last week when we talked about that particular episode, I mean, that Hydra did give Diablo a run for his money, but not so much the other fight that Diablo got into after the fight with the Hydra.
But the Force Hydra was the Force Hydra was interesting in a viewing sense and a in-universe mechanistic sense. Viewing because, one, it's just a weird-looking monster that's kind of too OP for life. Like,
oh yeah, totally.
I can clearly understand why the Kingdom of Man did not want to deal with Greenwood if that thing was just waiting in the wings to be summoned at any moment.
Oh yeah, totally. I can agree with you there. Like, different elemental attacks ranging from ice to sand to fucking fire.
Yeah. So it was a little ridiculous, but it also demonstrated that there are things, again, well, it reaffirmed to Diablo that there are many things that exist in this world which did not exist in Cross Reverie, which may indicate that Cross Reverie is just a small subsampling of this world, which means that he is not all-knowing, although he does seem to be, I won't say all-powerful given what we now know about the people in the upper echelons of society, but he's definitely way up there.
Definitely. I mean, even the design of the Force Hydra was very interesting in how, not like typical Hydras, how they have like regular snake-like heads. This thing's mouth was close to like the bottom of the neck here.
Yeah. It was mostly all mouth, honestly.
Yeah, true. So true. Creepy as shit, though. I mean, when all the different heads open their mouths, I'm like, oh god. The elves had this thing? Jesus. But then, after the Hydra was defeated, after someone told Diablo the way to defeat the thing, I think it was Shiar that basically said, oh, there's this crystal that floats around the Hydra, and if you can peg it, it just kills the thing. Then her brother's like, well, it's gonna take you a while to actually look for that thing. And Diablo's like, fuck this shit. Just goes underneath the Hydra and blows the thing up.
That spell that he used, I've never seen, well, I have, but it was way too devastating just to be something that he just pulls out of nowhere, no prep, no nothing, not a ritual spell, just fuck it. Let's run it. Turning the whole damn area to fucking glass. You know how hot you have to heat soil to turn that shit to glass?
I can only imagine.
It's very, very hot.
And I'm surprised that nothing else melted in that general vicinity. I mean, Diablo wouldn't because, magic resistance and whatnot.
Yeah, but I mean that just goes to show you how ridiculously controlled Diablo's magic is. I mean, or at least the magic that's presented in the show. Like it devastated everything in that area, and then anything outside of it was more or less ignored. Right? No heat splashback or anything crazy like that.
Oh yeah, and then when the force, the deity of the elves, was just utterly annihilated. Uh, what's Shar's brother's name again? I think it's Shar.
Dead. Doesn't
Oh,
matter.
fucker's dead though.
Dead rapist Nichan. There we go.
Yep, the speech. Yeah, dude gets decapitated while he was running away, and the lord that sent them on the mission in the first place basically comes in like, no, I'm gonna fuck these elves up. They went into my territory. I'm going to destroy them.
Which would be a perfectly good justification if that was his original intent. But honestly, he was just using Diablo and this whole mission as a guise to take out an enemy that he more or less didn't have to deal with. But since the opportunity presented himself, he said, "Why the fuck not?" Right? Let's
Already got.
also, can we talk about it for a moment? Even though they got zero play and they were totally worthless, those knights looked sick.
That is true. That armor design looked amazing.
Yeah, I was just like, wow, y'all need to do more with that. Also, you know that your forces are doing too much when their primary weapon is a halberd,
Oh yeah, totally. Like a pole arm, not meant to like disarm fucking horseback riders.
right?
And you know
Like,
they're fucking strong if they're just gonna wield those like lances.
right? So that was interesting. I really like that design. I would not want to go up against them in any sort of altercation, especially in a world where there's magic and such, where I have no idea what kind of craziness might be enchanted into them. But that's more of like a lore-based thing. Uh,
Yeah,
the Lord himself really pulled out all the stops. I've seen a lot of like full-on martial combat battle scenes, and he definitely brought the heat.
oh,
The
that he
Heat
did.
Sonic, level 20, 120 ability to be precise.
Yeah. Like I was about to say that Diablo mentioned that he assessed his level to be in the high 100s. Like, and with the skill that you can get in the game at 120, like he's
Mm-hmm.
like, holy shit. I mean, this man definitely gave Diablo a run for his money in terms of combat prowess. I mean, enough to damage him in just pure combat alone. And had to take Diablo to think strategically in order to beat him. Although I really like it at the end of the fight, it's pretty much Diablo got gypped of his pay because the lord that sent him on the quest basically said, "You fought me, fucker. You're not gonna get anything."
Yeah, no, that was just dirty. I was just like, you could have at least paid the man what you said you were going to do. But I guess that's what happens when you beat up your employer, right?
That is true. Well,
Let that be a lesson to all of us. You cannot assault your employer and still get a paycheck.
that is true.
That's not work.
You can't do that. And you also can't take it upon yourself to not handle your liquor if you're inexperienced in drinking. Because when you really think about it,
He really thought he had it. That's the worst part.
yep, he honestly thought he had it because he's in Diablo's body and his body is sturdy. But
Not
since,
sturdy enough.
well, that's our protagonist thought in his head, and like, oh, Diablo's body's sturdy. He could take alcohol, even though there weren't any like alcohol or drunk side effects in Cross Reverie, the game itself. So he was like, what could possibly go wrong? A lot of things can go wrong, like assaulting a bunny girl and thinking that it's a hug pillow. Oh, sweet Jesus. When I saw
That
that,
was definitely a fan servicey scene, but I was dead all the same. It was just too hilarious not to be.
like, I was laughing my ass off so much.
Oh, but to double back real quick. Uh, because that scene reminded me, because he did the hand trace on the stomach. I was just like, how has Diablo mastered this feeling and sensing magic thing so well?
Like, I don't know, but if someone at 150 with that level cap, you could pretty much do things within your means and your skill set. The one thing I can potentially understand is like, hey, once you taught him how to like view magic,
Mm-hmm.
he has complete insight into how to use it. Because you just have to really push the fucker to do anything. I mean, also him saying like, touch my possessions again or else I'll kill you myself. Yeah. Definitely some strong words for the lord of the starting town. If you wanted to start some shit.
Hey man, you don't start nothing, won't be nothing, and he already crossed that bridge. So
Mm-hmm. But at least both those fights with the Hydra and the Lord were actually really cool fights, especially the one with the Lord. Really thought that fight was great.
yeah, it was pretty. It was definitely it's definitely one of the better fights that we've seen thus far. Probably because there were stakes involved versus him just sort of abusing his opponent.
Oh yeah, totally. Like all the other fights were like pretty laughable by comparison.
Yeah, he there was just no hope for them, honestly.
Nope. That salamander, deader than a doornail. That battle shaman, please.
Yeah,
That
no.
entire legion of fallen, cakewalk.
That I don't even know why the fallen. Actually, I do, but either way, um, for the anime only people, it won't come as a surprise too terribly much, given that if you watch the opening, you see what I'm talking about. But either way,
Oh yeah, that thing.
um, so
Overall,
yeah,
this episode was really good. And I can't wait to see what will happen next week.
right. Actually, I think that's just a feeling, sort of universally for all the anime that I watched this week.
Oh yeah,
Um,
pretty much. And I'm sure we'll have a lot more to talk about when it comes to those particular ones, because on our personal Discord, when I started setting everything up, Jordan mentioned that some of the episodes this week, well, maybe at least one, was
yeah.
filler. And you mentioned that you don't really like filler.
No, I don't really like Phil. The only reason that I give this one a pass is because it ultimately feeds into something bigger than the anime series itself, which is fine, but it's not made immediately. You would actually have to know what the fuck is going on, like the realm of this anime as far as like manga and its extended media. But like
That's very true.
well
So,
into it, I suppose.
what is on next for your queue?
Next one is actually Cells at Work, episode 8. Blood circulation. Red blood
Or
cell tries to do her fucking job for once.
and not get lost. And fucking white blood cell does his best to make sure she's course corrected.
Oh goodness, she is.
This girl's
She's
a
an
mess.
absolute mess in every regard. She's just really bad at everything that she's supposed to be good at.
That much is true. It's a sad but true thing. I mean, when you're supposed to do your job, you're meant to do it right, or at least capable enough to do it.
Yeah,
This
and
girl,
I know it must feel bad. I mean, like, could you imagine being born for a singular task that you suck at? At least us humans had the benefit of sort of being like, well, maybe it should be.
yeah, but with the cells in the body, they can't really do that. if they are inherently sucking at their job, they're pretty much a liability. But what makes me laugh so incredibly hard is that when she's getting in this mode where, like, I'm going to do this for once. I am not a complete and utter idiot. I'm going to do this. I'm not going to get lost. And all this is spurred on by seeing rookie red blood cells trying to learn the job.
Hey man, whatever gets the job done.
Yep. If it lights a fire underneath it,
yeah,
it's the
like,
funniest thing.
And she's just not like, I don't even know what else to say. This episode was essentially just her being incompetent but cute at the same time. I still love Red Blood Cell. I don't think the show would be very interesting if she did have her shit together. So it definitely creates a necessary amount of drama that sort of allows us to connect with her and, you know, actually enjoy what we're watching.
Oh, definitely. And then the moments where white blood cells pretty much doing everything he can to make sure red blood cells doing her job, really looking out for her, even throwing her notepad where she's like rigorously jotting notes down to make sure she's doing her job.
Yeah, the notepad, the hat, the sign, killing the damn bacterium and then fucking disappeared again. Yeah, he was putting the whole team on his back.
Yep, and then at the end of the episode, he's like giving this sappy speech to Killer T, and Killer T wasn't having any of that shit.
Killer T needed to get himself some damn friends.
So he's like, fuck your feelings. You want me to tell me what the other cells? Well, you suck. We're immune cells. Let's get your shit together.
Isn't he just great? Don't you just love him? You can feel the warmth.
Oh, yeah, totally. And then he's like, I'm not jealous at all. I don't miss friends.
Yes, he does.
He totally does. And it's just really funny that at the end of the episode pretty much has it where white blood cell is listening to red blood cell, just explaining what happened during her journey through blood circulation. And all the things that she's seen in her journey, and the fact that she actually did her job.
Yeah, there's nothing really to say. It's just like, wow, you're really excited about having completed this routine task that you're literally supposed to do every single day.
And yet you get lost and fail. But it's one of the funnier episodes in the series, and it's very heartwarming to see someone who is so motivated to actually do their job right. And
yeah, I gotta give her that. I think that if it had been the inverse, that like she was complacent in her failure, it wouldn't be interesting, or we wouldn't like her as much because everyone hates that person, right?
Definitely.
It's like maybe you're just incompetent to just the absolute nth degree. There's nothing we can do to fix you, but at least try, damn it.
And boy, did she try, and we love her for it. And then next episode is going to be looking into a little bit more in Killer T's past, because the preview at the end of the episode just shows that he once had a friend, and it looks like it was the Commander T cell in his younger days.
Yeah, that should be interesting. I never look at the flash forwards anyway, so.
Yeah, it's always at this. They're always the stinger at the ends of some episodes, because usually they don't have them for most modern anime, or they're just like little snippets and sound bites, like they did for How Not to Summon a Demon Lord.
I wouldn't know. I never watch intros nor outros, so.
That much is true. You just want to be surprised by the actual episode.
Yeah, effectively. It's just like, what's going to happen now?
Everyone's just going to bark at you.
Right.
So next up on the queue is...
Next up on the queue is Yuna and the Haunted Hot Spring.
Oh, sweet Jesus. Oh man.
Oh my goodness, Genshiro Ryuga. So in this episode, Yuna is going through some like internal angst about her relationship with Kobayashi. Uh,
It's Kogarashi.
Kogarashi, come think, damn it, Kogarashi, not Kobayashi, whole different anime. Um, Kogarashi. I think I said Kobayashi last week too, and no one
Yeah,
called
and
me
we
on it.
both fucked up then because we don't even remember some names. That's our issue.
Yep, yep. Either way, our boy Punchy Punchy and Yuna are having some difficulties, or at least perceived difficulties in Yuna's mind, because she's beginning to believe herself to be a nuisance to Punchy Punchy because she keeps throwing him into a damn river every morning.
Well,
Uh,
just sleeping next to the man, she's like, "Oh, I'm so embarrassed." Shoots you out the window, and you land in the goddamn river. And everyone's like, "Well, it's at it again." And then Catcall Girl basically states, "Well, that's a new record."
yep. You would honestly think that my boy would just sleep in swim trunks, but I digress.
You would, but while that's happening, we're introduced to Inshiro and his, I would say, retainer, more or less, Oboro.
Mm-hmm.
And this man is on one mission and one mission alone, is to find a wife or several concubines.
Which he tries to abduct like,
3 different women.
yeah, 3 women on screen.
And he's like, "Oh, this is what they call women picking up men? All right, then I will take you both with me. You are my concubines now."
I'm just like, wow, I don't think that's how that works at all.
Well, he's a dragon god, so sometimes dragons, when they need something, they're gonna get it. And then Oberon's like, "Fucker, no. This is not how it works."
Also, can we talk about how stupidly strong this fool is?
Oh, definitely. I definitely agree that this man looks fucking strong.
Like, dumb strong for no good reason.
Yeah, all because he's a fucking dragon god of a river. And when you're just meant to be that powerful if you're a dragon god. He's like,
Don't make no sense.
oh, and in another way, he's actually also incredibly stupid. So he's like, oh, I finally found my woman in Yuna, because of course he and Opera abduct Yuna while she and little Tanuki girl go on a errand for something. And Oboro basically say before Genshiro meets Yuna is like, you need a wife with magical energy. And he's like, well, that's right.
Spiritual energy. And apparently Yuna got it by the ass load. I was not expecting none of that.
Neither did I. And then I was surprised that he's like, oh, you're my woman now. And she's like, no, that's not gonna happen. And then the little Tanuki girl, I forget her name and doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things. She's like, you can't take her because she has someone else, essentially, and they do dirty stuff all the time. And Genshiro's like, what the fuck? Dirty stuff? How dare this guy defile my Yuna? It's like, bro, really? I'm like, oh no. Why does it have to be like this? It always has to happen like this, doesn't it, Jordan?
Yes, yes, it does.
And also, well, Yuna gets ultimately kidnapped because she's under the impression that if she goes with Genshiro, she won't bother Kogarashi anymore. But then again, Kogarashi and Sagiri basically decide, you know what, fuck it, we're going to get Yuna back. And our boy One Punch Monk decides, I'm going to get
Not
her
One Punch
back.
Man. Not One Punch Man. I wasn't prepared.
Well, that's what I will call him.
Accurate.
But when he decides, I'm like, I'm gonna call out the Dragon God. Give me Yuna back, you asshole. And then it's in Genshiro's entire legion of fish soldiers. Because let's face it, that shit's always creepy.
True.
Like, never mix fish and people. Because
Yeah, but I mean, it's a pretty common thing, right? Like the drown, the Shawagan, the
the resonance of Innsmouth.
Yep.
I'm like, alrighty, let's just go with this. Oh, Bishop Fish. Because that's a thing that always happens. But we also get to see Sagiri in a special ninja outfit that's fucking skin tight. Again, something more fan servicey.
Yeah.
Like, well, we know what this show is, and we love it for it. I mean, it has to play to its strengths, right? Because with shows like this, there has to be some bit of fan service in every episode. And did we really need a cliffhanger for this episode?
Yes,
Really?
we did. Because that's how you got to end a good episode. You don't know what the hell's going on, but you know that we're about to probably wrap up the series with this fight. It's gonna bring us into episode 12 more than likely. We're probably gonna have one leftover episode for some amounts of fuckery to occur. I'm almost 100% sure that given the tone that they've tried to set with the anime, either this will be a one shot, one pop thing. I don't know if there's a manga to this or not.
There is. There definitely is.
Okay.
It's over 100 chapters long.
Yeah, so maybe I'm over exaggerating. I was about to say, from the way they've set up the tone, it's just like either she's going to ascend to heaven and it's going to be sad, or they're going to pull some magic mystical bullshit where she gets like a physical body.
Which I am not too sure because even though I have it cataloged on my phone because I have an app where I can read manga, which is going to be the topic of our Otaku Soapbox, but I have it on there and I haven't started reading it yet because there's other shit that I'm choosing to read beforehand. But it's really, really funny that I have this on queue on my phone, but I have the potential to see what happens next. And read on my own time and leisure. It's just that great.
Yeah, you'll have to tell me what app it is during the Otaku Soapbox because I don't have readable access to manga. Comics, yes. Manga, no.
It is a crying shame. But hey, at least we can move on to our final show, which is My Hero Academia.
Which was the one that me and Tony were talking about. So this episode of My Hero Academia, episode 58, special episode, Save the World with Love, is in fact a sort of side tangent from the provisional licensing exam arc, where it introduces a adventure that occurred before the events of All Might versus All for One fight.
And it's all taking place in that same time just to give us a taste and where the movie is going to begin.
Yes. So that's ultimately the important part. There was already a release at a anime convention back in July, but the official Japanese theatrical release is coming up next week, and then the American release is 2 or 3 weeks after that in September.
Yep, pretty much. And that and all the episode is Bakugo, Midoriya, Todoroki, Uraraka, Asui, and Ida are getting a special lesson by Aizawa and the other teachers to basically show them how to assess a situation, which is basically a jewel robbery in place where the villain is taking hostages and they have to assess how big the situation is. And we get to see a lot of these particular characters' personalities and how they operated. And also we get to see characters from the movie like Melissa Shield and her father, David.
Yes, which I looked up I looked up David, but I did not look up Melissa Shield because David's power is just the most shitty power. That's the kind of stuff that you would get if you like did one of those like Facebook things. It's just like you can end up in one world and you just like, yeah, I picked My Hero Academia because everyone has superpowers virtually. And it's just like, yeah, bendy fingers.
It's like, fuck.
I'm just like, God.
And I think his daughter, Melissa, is quirkless.
Let's look up. It's not, the internet can provide this answer. She is quirkless.
But this girl, much like her father, is ridiculously smart.
Yep. I mean, you gotta have something, right?
Yep. And she even sent an email to All Might. And what I find the most hilarious is she calls him Uncle Might. Because when, in his younger days, All Might was an exchange student and went over to America.
And had eyes. And had eyes.
That he did. He had regular human eyes.
Which is weird because I'm just like, why does aging make your eyes go away?
Hell if I know.
Like somebody's got some explainings to do.
That is so true. And what I find the most amusing is that I really want to see this movie now. I seriously do, because from what I can understand, it's mostly going to be folk because the movie was primarily spoiled because, yes, it was shown at Anime Expo, and they said it wasn't completely finished yet at that present time, but they wanted to show it at the at that convention. And so,
reason helps to get the hype up.
Yep, definitely.
And also, this episode would have been really out of place if people didn't know what to look for.
Yeah, and it's like, what the hell? I was expecting to see the rest of the provisional license exam arc, but I get this random shit. What's going on here? But we got to admit, like, we have to commend another example of Midoriya's deductive skills. Because someone who just overthinks everything tends to figure out the little details in what's out of place. And of course, our boy Bakugo decides, you know what, I had enough of this waiting around. We're going to just ram in and blow shit up.
Yeah, they definitely downplayed the overall intelligence of Bakugo in this side episode and really played up his impulsiveness. It's weird because it sort of undercuts what they were trying to say about him in maybe 2 episodes ago during the provisional licensing exam about his ability to understand situations sort of almost intuitively and very rapidly.
Which, in a way, it kind of, yeah, messes with Bakugo's character in that sense. And the best way that probably in-universe to explain it at this present moment, it's kind of a special test that he really wants to pass. So he's not completely assessing the situation, and it's just in hearing people chatter around him, trying to figure out what to do, just drove him nuts. Because the one thing we can always tell about Bakugo is that he does not like at least that's what I noticed about him as a character.
Probably accurate.
But I got to admit, like the sob story that, that the teachers play acted was just really hilarious.
Amen.
Because Midnight acted uncharacteristically modest in her portrayal as an office woman.
True. I wonder what she did before this, but I guess they train as like young children to be heroes, so maybe there is no before this.
Maybe like with some quirks, sometimes you don't become a pro hero, you end up a perpetual sidekick, or essentially you just pick up some skills while your quirk is being developed. I mean, Midnight's quirk is essentially putting people to sleep through a pheromone that she secretes.
Is it only sleep?
It's sleep. It is sleep. And essentially the reason in her explanation for wearing such skimpy outfits is because her quirk allows her to basically incapacitate people. And she's also just a massive pervert, so wouldn't surprise me the slightest.
Would not surprise me either.
But just fit in just all the characters in this episode, and just the funny scene at the end of the episode is just great. Like when they figured out the first, like the major crux of the test itself, but the one thing that they forgot to actually like point out was that they didn't catch the villain, so they ultimately failed anyway. I'm like, oh, Aizawa, that was fucking dirty.
That it was.
And even, I think it was Bakugo that said, that's dirty.
He did, actually. Or something to the lines of like, that's not fair. Either way, he was not happy.
Like, all of them were just dumbfounded. And of course, poor Asui and Uraraka got basically annihilated by rubble when they heard that they failed.
Also, they didn't necessarily fail, they just got 0 points. Which is the same, effectively.
It's a failure in my eyes. Yeah, but essentially this episode was just filler and tying into the movie that will be out in theaters in Japan, and then, like Jordan said, a couple of weeks after here for us Western viewers, which hopefully I will get to see. I mean, I will actively look for that film in close by theaters.
Yeah, I mean, I think you have a higher chance than I do. I doubt very seriously any of the Texas theaters are going to be playing that.
I mean, I'm not going to go down all the way to California to just see it. Are you kidding me? That's ridiculous.
Don't you live in California?
No, I live in Oregon.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm an Oregonian.
I'm sorry. Oregonian sounds like you're some sort of like lizard race out of Skyrim or something.
Yep, it's always hilarious because I make the joke that we're lizard people that always give people wood.
All right. And just like that, I'm done with you.
I always like making that joke. But anyway, on to our Otaku Soapbox topic, which is what got us reading manga, which coincidentally is how I might as well start with myself because we started last week's topic with you, Jordan. I think it would be only time to kind of change things up. How I started reading manga was kind of on a whim. One day while I was just perusing stuff at a bookstore down in Salem. It was a used bookstore called the Book Bin, or I don't really remember exactly, but I remember the first manga that I ever bought, I really enjoyed. And I thought to myself, yes, I like this. I'm going to continue reading this stuff. But I don't remember what the first manga I ever read was. I think it was... I know the first manga I ever completed was Rosario Vampire, which by far is my favorite version of that series in particular, even though I love the first season of the anime. And season 2 has some of my favorite, like, funny moments that took some elements of the second part of the manga, which is more of a shonen. Like, the manga itself, especially in its second half, is more shonen-y than anything else, which I really enjoyed more at that time. I still enjoy it every now and then. And then I started reading other series that I just came across and just ultimately enjoyed. It's like now you're going to hate the fact that I'm going to say this out because it's a shoujo manga that I ultimately like because the concept behind it is enjoyable to me. It's called So Cute It Hurts. It's basically about the love stories of two twins that find their own love interests. The male twin fell in love with a deaf girl, but ultimately she rejected him for someone else that she was in love with, and he ultimately has this romance with an heiress-like character whom I ultimately didn't like at first, but she ultimately grew on me over time. And then the blandest story, which recently, as I read, gained a little bit of traction and interest, was the female twin. She falls in love with an older guy who goes to the same school as her twin brother, because her twin brother goes to an all-boys school. And the whole premise is how she met her love interest was she disguised herself as her brother because her brother is a bit of an idiot, but savant when it comes to kendo. So the two swapped places because they look, well, they're identical twins in the face, but their genders are just the opposite of each other.
Mm-hmm.
So they swapped places for a day, and they met their love interests through those moments. And it's just typical romance shenanigans, like Megu is the female lead, and she is a big fan of Date Masamune and just a huge history buff, because she and her brother Mitsuru grew up in the town that Date Masamune came from. And it's a very fun series. I love it. I still am reading the manga to this day. And also, when a coworker of mine,
still going on?
Yeah, it's I know it finished like last year, I believe, but I'm still picking up the volumes because I'm buying them in order because I like to make sure if I really like a series, I want to collect it all. And just reading progressively through that, and then it just grew to the sizable collection of manga that I have, and I got introduced to a series that I want to see adapted into anime someday. And thanks to what I was initially saying, a coworker of mine introduced me to an app that allowed me to read manga because he was doing the same thing. I'm like, I could probably find manga on here. That's how I was able to read My Hero Academia, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Part 8 Jojolion, which that's really good. Dragon's Writing, that's a really fun manga. And then a lot of manga that would never see a Western release ever. Like, I even found Old Boy. Like, yeah, that was a manga before it was made into 2 separate movies. And its story structure is different compared to the movies. And I'm really and utterly fascinated by it. And some of the manga that I've read was basically a lot of stories that involved just drama and just pure craziness. Like what's the name of? Hold on, I got a few. Like I'm going to find these ones in particular because they just make me laugh uncontrollably. God damn you, bitch. Okay. Let's see here. Oh, I found one that I'm reading currently. It's called Blade Play. It's basically another isekai genre manga, but
I've heard of this.
it's the most perverse thing on the planet. It's basically this 20-year-old guy, while looking for porn, just gets transported to another world, and he ultimately discovers that
Wait, I've seen this. Wait.
his dog pretty much purifies demons. So demons only inhabit the body of women, and he just slays them, and they get purified.
Tony, not Blade Play.
Oh, it's hilarious. And then just such fun titles. I even found Golden Boy. Yeah, because that was a manga too. And one fucking long manga as well, and fucking absurd. Kintaro is the man for a reason.
I absolutely cannot with you. I absolutely cannot.
I even found Hinamatsuri as well.
Really?
Yes. I found a lot of stuff here that I just ultimately enjoy. It just makes me laugh uncontrollably. Found also Showman Sample, I found that. And then I found another manga called Parallel Paradise, which is basically another isekai story where ultimately this one character what? I'll just read the about line about this thing. Yuta the Sun Tada is an ordinary high schooler who dies and finds himself in a fantasy world where he is the only male. Can Yota survive in a world which has no resistance to him? Yeah, this thing is fucking absurd.
You're making me think about many a manga of that I read and then told myself, you know what? We're not doing this no more.
And then I found another and I also found Vigilante, which is the My Hero Academia spinoff, which is kind of like which is a prequel to the series itself. And then something that even myself, I am just upset that I read this all the way through, and I hate myself for it. Oh, but before I say that, here's another one that I found that I know Jordan and myself will enjoy. I found Aho Girl on there too. Yes, I found it.
Is there nothing holy in your life, Tony? I do love me some Aho Girl though.
But I haven't actually started reading it yet because I have no inclination to do so at the moment. But another one that I found, and it was something that I watched quite a bit when they made this into like an OVA, but Akisora, I found that too. And I'm thinking, Lord Jesus, why did I read this again? It's like, why did I just expose myself to this stupidity? Like, oh yeah, I remember now. I will always remember.
Some things cannot be unseen, my friend. Some things cannot be unseen.
Yeah, and then another manga that I found, it's Yuvakoi, which is basically something similar to, I call it a hellish love child of Akisora and School Days.
Oh no. Not School
Essentially, like, oh, the basic way I could explain this one is a guy loves a different girl, but he is in a relationship with his childhood friend, and due to some backstory, he can't really let her. Well, she can't let him go because she's terrified of what happens. And this particular female character, she just loses her shit after our protagonist ends things with her after having loads of other girls in his wake, which ultimately gets him killed by a speeding train.
What is going on here?
I never know with these things because I read it and I'm like, I'm captivated by this train wreck. I want to see what happens at the end. And the ending just left with teen pregnancy. I'm like, oh Jesus, really? This is yep. This is definitely a cautionary tale. And I had to expose myself to this. I chose this. But ultimately, like the ride itself was just a very amusing one because I get to see like this guy just put himself in a situation that he didn't really want to be in the first place because this poor guy, like when his ex-girlfriend ultimately like just loses her shit, goes full yandere, kidnaps the poor fuck, takes him to the school swimming pool, and essentially rapes the boy. Yeah, she beats the ever-loving shit out of him just for her to lose her virginity to him.
Tony, I feel like this has made it taken a departure from the original topic.
But yeah, but essentially that's pretty much what I've discovered in my travels of reading manga, which I will still read manga to this very day. I will always find the most absurd things.
Apparently.
And I will always read the most absurd things to this day, like ranging from what's most popular, where it's just so underground that it deserves to be there.
Yes.
And before I start digging myself a deeper grave, let's just head over to Jordan.
Okay, so I started reading manga because I watched Air Gear, the anime, and it ended abruptly in the middle of an arc. So I looked into the manga to see what had happened and, you know, what comes of things. I never actually ended up reading the Air Gear manga, surprisingly enough, but it did introduce me to that world. One of the things that I've noticed about manga is that I don't actually like too many mangas that much. I will, however, read a manhwa or a manhwa, which is just the Chinese and Korean versions of manga. Um, Not for any supremacy reason. I just have this. I've read a lot of like Wuxia cultivar based manhwa for no particular reason. I think it's just cool. The Koreans are just really, really good at making interesting stuff. I don't know what it is.
I mean,
They also have an obsession with boy love and weirdly like deep sexually charged manga. So there's that too.
oh, believe me, yes, I found a few Korean manga on that particular app too. I'm like, the fuck, man.
Yeah, you can't
I
escape.
thought I thought Japanese manga could get sexual, but
No,
fuck me.
not even a little bit. Koreans have no they have no breaks. There's no holding back here. But a few of the manga that I've really liked over time in general, one off the back that I've read from issue 1 up to the latest issue is Berserk. And I have never read a manga as much as I have read Berserk. Berserk is excellent, and I wish the author long life, happy life, prosperity, blessings of all blessings, and that he eventually finishes before I die. Um,
I mean, that's the hope for any like fan of a series. Like, before I die, let's end this properly.
yeah, I mean, honestly, I won't say I'll take a poor ending, but it's been a good ride one way or the other. So, you know, just bring that horse on in.
Yeah, just want to bring it to a satisfying conclusion, please do so. Because that could be another topic entirely, like a series, regardless if it's in manga. I think we already had this topic before.
I'm
Like,
sure we have.
yeah, we have. Like, even manga that I've read had satisfying endings. Some of them were just fucking absurd and weird, but they were satisfying. And I think that's pretty much what got us into manga. And this is another topic given to us by my friend Jeffrey, who's probably watching this either right now or later, because he'll notify me eventually, because that guy, full of energy, sometimes I don't know what to do with it when he just talks on and on. Like, sometimes, dude, Jeffrey, you're awesome, but if you can just tone it down a bit, that would be great. But I'll give this to you, Jeffrey. Thank you for actually getting me into JoJo, because JoJolion is great. Which I highly recommend it, even though it can be a bit janky in terms of the kind of story it wants to tell if people are not familiar with JoJo. But hey, for it being an alternate take on part 4, in a way, it's pretty good. And also, I highly recommend Vigilante, My Hero Academia Legals. That's great, because the characters in that manga are just fantastic. All because of the quirkless Vigilante, Knuckle Duster, who is that world's Batman. Yeah, all he does is just punch things, or he gets basically knocked back, and he just fights on.
Well then.
So, do you have any recommendations to give to the audience if they don't have any yet, Jordan?
Well, obviously read Berserk, and then you definitely want to read um, Goblin Slayer. It's really been picking up in popularity. Although I've never read it, I hear Air Gear manga is pretty damn solid. I would not recommend you picking up something like One Piece, Naruto, the Dragon Ball anime, any of like the mainstay animes. I wouldn't pick up those mangas unless you just really absolutely want to know what happens. Because all of those shows have been brought to the conclusion. Like they're on their way, right? Like
Fairy Tail ended, that I know for sure, in its manga form.
Yes, it did.
And so people can probably catch up with that. We both should highly recommend, because I'm sure you probably have read at least a little bit of it, or you're just in anime only. But My Hero Academia, that's definitely one, since only like 195 chapters long now.
Yeah, I mean, if you're not intimidated by that number that he just said out loud, it's definitely a manga that's worth keeping up with. I'm not sure how many more new seasons we'll get of the show, but it could go all the way. It might go all the way. It's definitely popular enough. The dividends are high enough.
Well, if it is a Shonen Jump manga adaptation, it'll definitely get multiple seasons for at least the foreseeable future. And I think with that, we will end this week's episode of Weeb Warriors. Thank you to everyone who saw the episode live, and thank you, Jordan, for joining me like always.
Yep. Glad to be here.
And look forward to another episode next week or so, depending on if we're all busy with other things and whatnot. And in the topic for this for next week, I will. It's going to be another one from my friend Jeffrey, and it escapes me at the moment. But you guys will find out next week when we actually talk about that topic. So, see you then, guys.
See you.